Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Iconicon. We are live here from World Class Bullshitter Studio, and we, as in me and my friend 2 Cent Toy, Salvador, what is up, man? How you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing exceptionally well. I do miss the welcome to World Class Bullshitters, the epitome of pop culture.
Well, hold on. Since you're here, let's do it. Welcome to World Class Bullshitters, the epitome of pop culture. I'm your host, Jeff Hicks, and with me tonight is a very special guest, Salvador. Better?
Perfect. Perfect. Turkey's done, my guy. Turkey's done.
Oh. Well, we have one more guest. We're joined by our friend, Toy Connections. Let's say hello to Ken.
I believe it's Morphin time out here on the West Coast. How about you guys?
I'm on the West Coast
I believe
too,
that
man,
to
so
be
it's super
true.
early.
But I've noticed on the internet that it's actually Morbin time.
Uh-oh.
That might be true.
You said the words. I guess I gotta press the button.
It's Morbin time.
Megazord!
Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-tooth tiger!
Tyrannosaurus!
Yeah!
So, there we go. It's Morbid time, folks. Now, we're going to be joined by a very special camera today. Yeah, you can see me. Here I am wearing the Wokebusters shirt, but we have a very special guest. The toy camera over here to my left. So, folks, you can watch the toy cam as we talk about Power Rangers and all sorts of fun stuff today. As you can see, we have the SH Figure Arts, we have the Soul of Chogokin Megazord, the Soul of Chogokin Dragon Zord, and the, I don't know what to call this one, the Figure Arts Bandai 6-inch Megazord, which is mostly made out of die-cast and has all kinds of awesome parts. So I also have the 3-0 figures and stuff. It's going to be a fun stream today, folks. So join us. We're going to talk about Power Rangers, the toys, the legacy, and the 90s, because as this stream is titled, Superheroes for the 90s, the Power Rangers. So that's what we're going to start talking about. Now, Sal, you and I have been friends for a long time now. We have talked about Power Rangers constantly. So today is a very special day. But Ken, I am getting to know you for the first time on this stream, and we're going to be talking about some of our favorite Power Ranger stuff, some of the memories, and it's going to be interesting to get to learn about another Power Rangers fan, because I don't know about you guys, but when I go on the internet, anytime somebody brings up Power Rangers, it's got to get back to the damn Ninja Turtles. Somebody always wants to say Ninja Turtles versus Power Rangers. Did you have that debate in the 90s?
Well, I mean, I always say after the 1990s, by that point, we'd seen the 1998 crossover of Power Rangers in Space, where they showed up on that very cheesy but very guilty pleasure-ish fun episode. So I say, you know what? They all fought on the same team. And I know that that's the happy-go-lucky sort of like feel-good answer, but it kind of allows me to kind of steer out of that debate, because it's extremely difficult to try to solve that debate, because depending on my mood, I was either a Power Ranger guy or I was a Ninja Turtle guy. It just depends whether it was 1988 or whether it was 1993. So
Sal, what about you?
Wrong button. I am the firm belief that the whole like, oh, who would win between Superman and Thor, and I'm like, they wouldn't fight each other. They'd be on the same team.
Yeah.
So, and you know how it is with me. I'm like, hey, they're ninjas. They have swords. I'm on board. Like that's that's the short and the long of that.
As a kid, I was very much on Team Power Rangers, but the older I get, I realize the Ninja Turtles has a lot going for it. So I'm kind of at the place where I like both as an adult. I play the new Ninja Turtles game. I still play the Power Rangers game every once in a while. It's a good place to be as an adult. The war is over, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's similar but not identical, especially not at the same degree of like DC versus Marvel. It's okay to like both. When you're 10, you have your diehard. No, this is my favorite. This is Ass McGee. But as an adult, it's okay to like both.
yeah, I had a slightly different experience, because I was born in the early 80s, right? So I couldn't fully sink my teeth into the 80s. Like, I was 7 years old by the time the 80s ended, and everything was about Power Rangers in 1988 and 1989. And then by the time Power Rangers rolled around in 93 and 94, Turtles was getting closer to like out of sight, out of mind as far as that cartoon was concerned. Was it the Mirage Studios cartoon? I can't remember exactly what it was. So like for me, they were the same era, but one was phasing out while the other was phasing in. So I didn't always get that one-to-one comparison until I was an adult. And then when it happened, I was like, why are we comparing them? They're 5 years apart in debut. So, I didn't quite get the same experience, even if I heard it happen. Yeah.
Now, quickly before we move on too far, I oh yes, it's gives you goosebumps, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. But I love turtles. I always have. I know if Tony's listening, he's thinking it's sacrilege because they are squatty. They are kind of weird because Playmates was weird. But I grew up. I remember when Power Rangers premiered. Like I remember when that was a new show. So it was one of the first times I can remember getting in on a new show that was coming out, kind of like Batman the Animated Series, things like that. Like because most of I guess the '80s properties that we think of, the ones that keep getting rebooted, the ones that keep everyone nostalgic. I was, Jeff, very similar to myself. We were born post all of that, so we were born in a sweet spot where we got to absorb and appreciate, GI Joe, He-Man, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Star Wars, all that stuff, and we were around to experience Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, like that kind of resurgence in the '90s. So while I do love Ninja Turtles and I love Power Rangers, I kind of sway a little bit more Power Rangers only because I remember that being on television and watching it. And I remember that movie, which we'll get to later. If you're listening and you think we're not going to talk about that movie, we definitely are. But
yeah, we are. Dude, if I had the time, I was going to have, well, if my mom could have, I was going to have her send me the picture of me dressed as the White Power Ranger from the day I went and saw that movie in 1995. So
Wow.
we're definitely going to talk about the Power Rangers movie today. Don't worry, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be... I have a lot of good memories of that day, so we'll talk about that. And we're going to get to talk about the McDonald's toys and all the fun stuff. I mean, that's what the best part about Iconicon is. It's just a celebration of pop culture and the shit we actually care about. So I'm excited. I'm trying to get the logo pulled up real quick for everybody to see that we are a part of Iconicon. But yeah, let's start with today's stream. So I asked you guys a series of questions. I sent show notes. I was actually prepared. But let's start talking about the Power Rangers. So Sal, you mentioned remembering the time before the show, as do I. It was that I technically remember Batman and X-Men as well, but like Power Rangers was the first event I remember. It was the first thing I remember like consuming my entire life. Before that, I liked Thomas the Tank Engine, Batman, Pee Wee Herman, like either obscure weird shit or like stuff that wasn't easily found in America, or just like the most mainstream thing in the world with Batman. But when I found Power Rangers, dude, I don't want to say I found myself because that sounds a little cliched, but how many 90s kids remember like when that theme song would hit, you started jumping around, acting like you were going to fight? I mean, hell, play fighting got banned at my school because of how popular the Power Rangers were. So it was like all-encompassing for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember it was preschool, so we're digging deep in the memory archives here. I remember preschool, like just one day, I was into like, what were those things called? The troll gem chest guys that had like sparks in their chest behind gems, and Z-bots and a bunch of other kind of obscure things. Then, your best friend at the time is dictated by, oh, you like this, I like that too. And it was very simple. And it was like you had like one or two people you would talk to, and then all of a sudden all the boys in class were all about Power Rangers. And so, the play fighting or, role playing or whatever you want to call it was very popular. The setback being is that if there's like 12 boys or 15 boys in your little preschool class, there's only like 6 Rangers, and none of them want to be the Pink Ranger or the Yellow Ranger. I'm sorry, they just don't.
Nope.
Because you're a 3-4-year-old little boy. So a lot of us ended up being putties or Goldar or whatever. And I do remember a pseudo fight breaking out on the playground because we were all putties ganging up on the Power Ranger kids, and we were falling down and all that. And to this day, I don't remember what they're called. Duder, you might know what I'm talking about. They're like seasonal. They fall off a tree, and it's like maybe they're walnuts, but they have these big spike things hanging off of them. And
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're from a very similar geographic area, and a kid fell down and hurt himself on one. And,
ouch.
Yeah, you'd think that we killed somebody. So it was very different, I guess, after that point. So there's a lot of, I punched you in the face and you're like 10 feet away from them, and they're like, no, you didn't, you missed.
Now, Ken, you said you're a little older than us, but have you had any experiences like that of any kind of I don't know, you're acting out on the playground, you think you're your favorite character, and oops, you know, you broke some kid's nose or some shit.
Yeah, and well, sort of, right? Like it's interesting because I'm not used to being the senior citizen in the room because like whenever I stream with people and we're talking Star Wars, everyone's 5, 6, 8 years older than me. When we're talking Transformers or GI Joe, everyone's 2 to 4 years older than me. So this is quite an interesting experience for me because I was in grade 6 when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out. So people were transitioning out of the toys and the fun, but there was a relatability aspect of it because the teenagers were very much like Saved by the Bell kind of teenagers, and that was always on in the afternoon. But the Zords were very much Transformers, so that was always my excuse. I'm like, it's Transformers meets Saved by the Bell. And half the kids at school liked it, and half were like, Ken, you're just looking for an excuse to play Power Rangers in the playground. And we struggled a bit. Like, if we did, it would be like, I would be Goldar or Lord Zed. And by Lord Zed, I was in grade 7 already, so that was double lame, right? So, like, and the other kids would be the Rangers, right? Now, in class, we might have like a talking debate about is Red Ranger cooler or Green Ranger cooler? Did you like White Ranger more or Green Ranger more? But these were talking debates in grade 6 and 7 by that point in time. In the playground, there was no way I was ever going to be one of the Rangers because you're in that transition phase where you kind of like girls, but you're still kind of a kid. So you were not going to jump around the playground going, "Ooh, I'm Tommy" or "I'm Jason," but you were still okay cool if you could be a monster on the playground, being sweet to the other kids who were the Rangers, if that makes sense.
It does. When I was in the 7th...
Go ahead, dude.
Okay. Oh, no, it's going to be a completely different topic, so keep going.
I was going to say, you mentioned the great debate. I remember preschool, mind you, we had that debate on who's the White Ranger, who's the White Ranger. And I was like, I was the only kid in my class who was like, "That's Tommy," and they all called me stupid. They're like, "No, Tommy's the Green Ranger." I'm like, "Well, he disappeared." Like I remember one kid, Stoneface, said to me that he thought it was Kimberly.
What?
And I was like, "They're on the screen together, dumb."
They threw a few red herrings at us on that one. Like, wasn't Zach's cousin one of the red herrings? And then there was that guy that I forgot what his name was, who Trini was really sweet on. That was the other red herring because they could both fight. Right. And then all of a sudden it was Tommy.
I just want to say, who's laughing now, fellow preschoolers?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, who's laughing now? And let's hope they're watching this stream.
That's right.
They have to be. We know who they are personally, Sal. I emailed them the link. Dude. Who was the White Ranger was like the Who Shot JR of the 90s kids TV shows. It was a big deal. Like, I mean, Who Shot Mr. Burns was... The Simpsons weren't for little kids like the Power Rangers was. Simpsons was for everybody. So that was a bigger deal. But on the kids' front, the Green Ranger saga and the White Ranger mystery were pretty intense for a kid show, especially when you're watching shit like... if you brought up Saved by the Bell or other things that are kind of like, these 90s staples, you didn't really have a 5-episode arc or high drama or, things that you had to cut around for. Like, Power Rangers was a unique show, and I gotta give, that comes from the Japanese influence. Did you guys... Have you ever watched any of the Super Sentai?
No, I've not.
I have not watched it, properly. When I was a kid, because I was born overseas, some of it would air on TV in between other programs, and when I go over to the Philippines to visit relatives, I would see people selling stuff, but I didn't know whether it was Zayu Ranger or Car Ranger that I was looking at. I just knew it was 5 or 6 multicolored guys in suits, and then when it debuted here in '93, I was like, it's that thing that I saw overseas, and I didn't know what it was. I guess it's called Power Rangers here now. And as the internet got bigger in the 90s, I started to realize they were pulling footage from elsewhere. And that's why when the 3rd season came along and Kat, the Pink Ranger, who I will admit that I am very sweet on even today and still follow her on Instagram, whenever she would morph into costume, she would shrink like 6 inches. And that's kind of how it became obvious that they were either using a stunt person or they were... Oh, that didn't make sense because you would think that the stunt person would still be 5'8" or however tall she is, but it was obvious they were pulling footage from overseas if she was fighting in her Ranger uniform. And anyway, shout out to Kat if you are watching the stream.
She was a good Ranger. I watched for the end of Mighty Morphin. As long as they kept those original suits, I watched that show. So she was into Zeo, right? The second Pink Ranger?
She went to Zeo, and then she left halfway through Turbo with Adam and Tommy and Tanya.
I was a Power Rangers kid, and I left for Zeo. So Mighty Morphin is kind of where my saga ends. Because I got into... Well, I'll talk about that later, because that's part of the stream today.
So you missed the return of Jason as the Gold Ranger, which is pretty epic. How was I 14 and I was watching, and you're like 7 and you think you're too cool for it? That's kind of funny.
I discovered Star Wars, and I went, holy shit, this changed my life.
Okay, fair enough.
Because we keep talking about windows of time. I got into Star Wars right before the special editions came out, like mid-95 we're talking. So it was the end of the original run, the One Last Time box set, and nobody else was talking about Star Wars. It was not cool. So when I discovered it, I thought it was the neatest thing on the planet, and sadly Power Rangers just got the boot. It wasn't that it was worse off. I just have a connection with the original show that I don't have with anything else. Between the characters, the designs, which is really important to me, or which are important to me, the monsters, everything about the original Zhu Ranger or Mighty Morphin or whatever you want to call it, really hits a special place for me. So today, folks, we get to talk about the show, the toys, and the history of the Power Rangers. Now, guys, what did you think of, or who's your favorite Ranger? I know we keep talking about Tommy and stuff, but let's leave Tommy out of the discussion for a minute. The original 5, who would you call your favorite Ranger? Sal?
Oh, Lord. So, as you do, your preferences change over time. As a kid, Jason, all day. He had a sword, and his Zord was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Couldn't be touched, in my opinion, because we were riding high on the wave of Jurassic Park. He had a sword. Leonardo is our favorite turtle because he has swords. But he was just really cool. And, as an adult, probably Billy, maybe. So, kind of a fan of him.
Ken, what about you?
So I echo exactly what Sal just said. Definitely Jason, because when I did get a chance to be one of the Rangers, I always called dibs on Jason because somebody always wanted to be Tommy. They wanted the flute, they wanted the Dragon Zord, and I was like, yeah, but Jason gets all the good commands. He gets to say it's Morphin time. He gets to say we need Dinosaur power now, and because Tommy gets the nod for longevity for a lot of people. But for me, when Jason came back as the Gold Ranger a few years later, he had been taken away from us in his prime, and then he got to come back 2 years later, which to me just added a more sweet spot to it. And I got to meet him back in 2017 at the Fan Expo here.
Nice.
Very nice guy. Billy was there too, David Yost. He was an even nicer guy. But yeah, so for me, I was a Jason guy all the time because my friends were all Tommy people. So, yeah.
So Sal, like you, my tastes have changed. I started out with Billy as my favorite because I like the color blue. That's as basic as it was. He was blue. That was cool for me. And I was a smart kid, so the nerdy tech shit, while it didn't really make sense to me, I identified with like, oh, okay, well, you're good in school. I was good in school, so I was like, all right, Billy, you're cool by me. But once the Green Ranger came out, I liked the Green Ranger a lot, but I was a weird kid where I understood that he wasn't going to be there in every episode. Like, I couldn't figure out why he wasn't there or how they did it, but I knew the trend. I knew that Tommy was going to get called off on a phone call or a television shoot or some shit, and the Green Ranger really wasn't going to be there but till the 0 hour. So I kept the Blue Ranger as my favorite, but when the White Ranger came out, it was like Power Rangers became another event for me. I already liked everything. I had all the 93 toys, all this shit. But man, when the White Ranger debuted, it was like the second coming. I had the suit, I had the toy, I had everything. I had the regular figure, the talking figure. The Morphin one was the most difficult Power Ranger toy to find. Like, the White Ranger, goes back far for me. Hell, let me put up the SH Figure Arts one since I love it so much. Actually, I have 2 of them.
Yeah, that's for those listening at home. I know the Lightning Collection has just come out and all that, but if you can get the SH Figure Arts figures, they're light years beyond.
Those I don't have. I have the Bandai ones and the Lightning ones, but it'd be nice to see this.
These are like next level, and the funny thing is how old they are. They're almost 10 years old at this point. Mm-hmm. And folks in the chat, I see a ton of messages. We're going to get to you in just a second. But yeah, these things, you can see it was $64.99. I got that for $20 at a GameStop on clearance. And when these were new, I only paid $39 per figure. I got them out of the Diamond Selects catalog every couple months from my comic book store, and I was the only person to order them. Like, hey, you got another toy in? And so I would roll up and get one of these bad boys, and now they're worth hundreds of dollars each. Like, I think they're $200 per figure. And,
people realized too late how good they were. So.
Yeah. No, that was. I remember that sale. That's I got the what did Bandai call it? The Legacy Collection, I think it was. I got the Saba sword for $20. Like they were.
I missed out on that one.
Yeah, and that was you couldn't be. I think it retailed for like 180 or something. It had all metal parts and all that, and just spectacular. Couldn't be beat.
It's a beauty. You know me and my collectibles, man. We talk offline a lot, or online technically, just off YouTube a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the only thing I'll say about okay, so we'll just jump ahead real quick. These Figure Arts figures are wonderful. The only thing they don't have is the black line around the belt, which is inconsequential. And I'm very curious to see how the damn Super 7 figures are, because I hung out with Laser Pants up at a toy store in Seattle, and I had never seen Super 7s in person, and they disappointed the shit out of me. So I am super nervous all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Super 7 looked good, but then when you open it up, it's a bit hit or miss. I like the turtle stuff that I got from Super 7, but I have a hard time speaking to the Power Ranger stuff.
It hasn't even come out yet, man. It's They have solicited 3 waves, and I pre-ordered them like an idiot, except Lord Zed, because Lord Zed looked like shit. I mean, there's no reason, like the Lightning Collection, Lord Zed beat the hell out of it, and the Finster. So I stuck with those. But folks, let's get with everybody here in the chat, because this is a fun day. It's a little early for WCVS. Consider this like a GMPC on the West Coast. But first off, we have Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, who sends in a super chat sticker. Folks,
Zazel,
be on the lookout.
see it.
Yeah, we're friends on Facebook now. I've seen a lot of Sergeant Slaughter love on the internet, which is awesome because I'm a fan of his wrestling days. So anytime I get to interact with a WWF champion is a big deal to me. So I'm excited to be on the Attitude Era stream coming up. That's going to be...
It's tomorrow at 6 a.m. West Coast, 9 a.m. East Coast time. But I will wake up for wrestling just like you. So.
Same, dude. I'm... Good.
I was saying, not to deviate too far off track, but we had mentioned how some of the teachers felt about us play fighting as Power Rangers. Hold on to your butts, because wrestling is right around the corner.
Dude, you know how I am with my wrestling love. I didn't almost like get kicked out of school or anything serious, but man, I heard a couple people fake wrestling. Well, it wasn't fake. You know how it goes. Trampolines were fun. I gave somebody the Walls of Jericho once, and I didn't let off. I should have let off.
Wow. Like the vertical Walls of Jericho and not just the Boston Crab? Because I Boston Crabbed the kid once, but I didn't want to raise him to the Walls of Jericho because that puts pressure on the upper back, too.
We were in high school in Savage. Like, it was either football practice or, like, people were trying to wrestle, so...
Okay. That's pretty
times.
That's pretty awesome, or pretty awesomely terrible.
Hey, I had a good life, good childhood, so I'm very happy. But let's check in with the audience right now, because we have a lot of people joining us tonight, this morning, and I want to say thank you to all of them. So Darth Armo sends in a super chat that says, "Hi, Jeff and Sal, long-time listener, first-time caller." Well, Darth Armo, what is up? Seen your name around, so how you been?
Welcome.
Here we go. Here's a name we haven't heard from in a minute. The Rookie Critic says, "Power Rangers rule. I grew up with Power Rangers, and even though many seasons are odd, there are tons of well-done episodes and seasons. Have a great stream." We will, Rookie Critic. And folks, make sure you're checking out the Rookie Critic's channel here on YouTube. He's crossed 1,000 subscribers now, and he makes really, really cool content. He's a filmmaker, so check him out. He's a one-man show of filmmaking, and it's wonderful.
Well, congrats on
Kevin
1,000.
Yeah, dude, the Rookie Critic, man, is just knocking it out of the park. Kevin Castillo says, man, I remember the first Power Rangers movie and its awesome higher ground intro. I still have my Red Dragon Thunder Zord. Still my favorite.
The Chili Peppers intro. Love it.
No, we're going to talk about that. Believe you me.
Please do.
Yeah. And I don't have a stone heart. When I think about the higher ground opening from the Chili Peppers, anytime I hear that song, I think about Power Rangers jumping out of an airplane.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
The puns of Power Rangers. We'll talk about them, but the puns were terrible. Drew with Comics Elite, thank you very much. He says, "Kids today will never understand how big the Green Ranger saga was during the TV series. Every day I couldn't wait to see what happened next." Dude, I remember that. It was like, 4 o'clock is where the Power Rangers, or when the Power Rangers played in Cincinnati. And every day I'd be at home watching the Green Ranger saga. I had it on tape, but the only thing that sucked is I had like parts 1, 2, and like 4 on tape, but never 3 and 5. So I had to catch how it ended on TV all the time. I was like, I know he becomes a good guy, but I missed out on that.
Mm-hmm.
The Rookie Critic says, as I do more research into the history of Power Rangers, I love how the US version of Sentai made changes like passing the torch in Zordon era and creating Zed.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of cool stuff that they do create for the American series. Ken, since you watched it a lot longer than I did, how does the Zordon stuff end? Do you remember that, or do you know?
Yeah, I do. He stays all the way until like midway through Turbo, and I can't remember why he leaves, but then Demetria takes over as their mentor. And then in Power Rangers in Space, Dark Spectre captures Zordon, and it's up to the Space Rangers to rescue him. Now, spoiler alert, plug your ears. In 1998, dun 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 dun, Zordon, he dies. Right?
What?
And what happens is, in order to sort of stop the spread of evil throughout the galaxy, because Astronema has control of everybody. I love Melody Perkins too, by the way. Great actress. She has control of everybody. She's got the Machine Empire under her. She's got Rita and Zed under her. She's got Diva Talks, everyone under her. In order to stop the spread of evil, Andros has to break Zordon's tube and release all the good energy throughout the galaxy to like turn all the evil into dust, which is exactly what happens, and that's what officially ends the Zordon era, what they call the Zordon era of Power Rangers. Albeit the next season is kind of considered an epilogue because there's a little bit of a hangover effect with some of the characters and some of the Zords and some of the settings. But that official end of the Zordon era was 1998 in space, and Zordon dies because his good energy saves the universe. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he's not just a head in a tube anymore.
Nope, he's not. He's not. So, yeah. And it's a very intense final scene because Andros, he doesn't want to break the tube. He hesitates, and Zordon's like, you have to do it. And I think finally something's about to happen, and then Andros just says, okay, forget it. And he just clenches his eyes. Well, he's under a mask, but you can tell he's like clenching his teeth and has to go for it. So, yeah.
Well, I might have to check it out. Our friend 2Tim505 says Power Rangers in Space is the best one.
It actually is the best storytelling season, right? I stayed on as a 16-year-old to watch it because it was so compelling, right? So.
The theme song kicks ass. I know that's like a quick jump from the story, but I'm like, when I think of Power Rangers in Space, I think of how good the theme song is. Because I was like, oh. Wait, I take that back about completely ditching Power Rangers. I did watch a little bit of Power Rangers in Space. I would have been in the 5th grade, and you would catch it on like whatever, and you're like, all right, they're on a starship. I already liked Star Wars, so it's kind of like a weird blend of both.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't own a single toy. I couldn't tell you. I know Andros is like the red guy, the leader, but I couldn't tell you anything else about Power Rangers in Space. But maybe I'll go back and watch it. I like the,
If you were going to go back to watch one season and you'd already watched Mighty Morphin, I would have told you to watch Space. So let's rock it,
dude. I wanted to say this. I don't think I actually ever stopped watching Power Rangers. I would just take breaks, but I didn't really stay in the property. Like, when I was a kid, I'd move to other things, but as an adult, I kept watching it. I'm kind of proud of it. So, it's fun for what it is.
Yeah.
Kevin Castillo, thank you very much. He says, let's hear it, everyone. Who was your crush across the series? Mine was Dana Mitchell from Lightspeed Rescue. 6-year-old me was seeing stars. Ken, I know you brought up Kat, a.k.a. the second Pink Ranger. Outside of her, who did you like?
It's Manga Knight 2 there says Melody Perkins, she was a villain and a ranger. I had a bit of a thing for her when she was a ranger as well. So she came back as Carone, Andros' younger sister, and I had a bit of a thing for her too as well. Maybe because she looked a little bit like Kat. I don't know.
I had to look her up because I was like, which one is this? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sal, what about you? Well, I'm going to go and just say the most basic one, the Pink Ranger, Kimberly the original. Amy Jo Johnson was a good-looking woman. Still looks great, so I'm going to go her. The one she's on the balancing beam, I was just like, oh, okay. I was 5, so I wasn't really thinking about those things, but as an adult, I'm like, how did I miss this stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Scorpina, personally.
Ooh, okay. I forgot she was an option.
Yeah, I had never thought of her as an option, but sure, why not?
Yeah, Amy Jo is always a close second, but
I thought Amy Jo was just more. She was more catchy, and she had the personality. Like she had the catchphrases, right? But I just thought the Cat had the more like model runway appearance type of thing. So I guess that's what I was into. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe people think I'm nuts. I don't know.
No, I just the older I get, the Pink Ranger had a nice butt, and I'm just like, oh wow, okay. So that's kind of where my brain goes. Nothing too poetic here. Reading the chat, we got Cassidy, the pink Asian girl from space, Amy Jo Johnston. Let's see who else we got. Yes, Dr. Coffinails, in a way. By the way, Dr. Coffinails and everyone watching, WCBS is going to do the most 90s thing ever. We're going to broadcast live from the Mall of America next week. Yeah, for a couple days. We'll have some Good Morning Pop culture. Seriously, I'm going to be there. That's not a joke, folks. It's not some kind of troll job. I will be at the Mall of America for a few days, and we'll live stream.
The Mall of America was the birthplace of Monday Nitro, was it not, Jeff? Wasn't the first Nitro not aired from Mall of America? So there's a little Easter egg for you to lead off your next show with there.
Personally, I'm going to go eat every meal of Pastamania, Hulk Hogan's wonderful gourmet experience at the food court in the Mall of America. I love Hulk Hogan. God damn it. Anyway, back to the Power Rangers and the audience. Our friend Rookie Critic says, hot take, Tommy is cool but overrated. Jason David Frank is an awesome actor that carried Power Rangers at heart, but there are more interesting characters in other seasons. What do you guys say to that one?
Well, yeah. I just brought up Andros. He was far more interesting than Tommy ever was, if you ask me, right? Just because he came from another planet. He had to adapt to the times he was on Earth. He had to look for his long-lost sister. He fell in love with the Yellow Ranger, with Ashley, that year, and he brought them the Astro Megaship. And then his best friend Zane was cryo-frozen, and he had to deal with that. I thought he had a more emotional arc overall, so, right?
You are giving credit to Power Rangers that it deserves that I completely missed out on. So it's like, oh wait, Power Rangers has this depth? I'm just thinking about the guys in the rubber suits flipping around and fighting. But that's the misnomer, though, that a lot of people want to put on the show. Like, they did try. Once they either ran out of Japanese footage or tried to develop more things, like, you gotta give them more credit. And not everything worked, but there's a reason why we're still talking about it, and there's a reason why Hasbro has spent a couple $1 billion to acquire it and milk the toy line. Like, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers still has a life, and it's weird. It's one of those, it's like Ninja Turtles. It just doesn't go away. And at this point, I don't think it will, because it's almost 30 years, and there's new merchandise, there's new shows, there's demand. It's going to take, our generation dying out for it to go away. But that's cool, because I like this show, so... Amak Uno says Daizujin, or Daijujin, however you pronounce it. I'm sorry. The god that is the Megazord. And then Adama, thank you very much for your super generous super chat. He says, I remember when the show premiered. I had watched it since then, through all the ups and downs. Earlier this year, I got the actress who played Kat and Aisha to autograph their Lightning Collection figures for me.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, Adama, did you tell us about that on the stream earlier this year? Because I feel like we might have talked about that. And how awesome it was, because, autographs. I would love to get my Power Rangers figures autographed. Maybe I will. Sal, should I get new figures to get autographed and keep the SH Figure Arts as is?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for the original MMPRs, they're, I wouldn't say hard to find, but you're going to be waiting a while, I think, for a reissue.
Get an 8x10 autograph.
I get the helmets, personally. I have white and green autographed already, and it's got red, so whenever Austin St. John is not in trouble anymore, I'll get him to autograph that. And got Lord Zed, which I understand is not going to happen for obvious reasons. So I'll have almost...
The autograph or the helmet?
The autograph.
Oh, okay.
So him and the Yellow Ranger both.
I didn't want to bring it up as the first sticking point, but I think that's the main reason why I hold back from any kind of Power Ranger autographs. Because, yes, I love the White Ranger, Tommy's the coolest, blah, 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 but he's not the whole show. The team is, and I don't have the same connection to Karen Ashley or Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. Look, they were there, halfway mark. They were good Power Rangers. They're in the movie, and to a lot of kids, they're the Power Rangers. But, I'm in that weird era where it's like, I remember the show when it debuted, and if I go back and watch it, I only watch the original actors. It becomes a different thing when those new actors come in. It's more, '90s kids show because they ran out of Japanese footage, and they're creating stuff, and they're pulling from, what is it, Die Ranger, where the White Ranger comes from. Like, the show is unique and interesting still, but it definitely became a little more Americanized. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, maybe this is what I picked up on that as a kid for sure, and it helped me get out of Power Rangers in a nice, normal way. Magic Manga Knight 2 says Melody Perkins is the only Power Ranger to play a Ranger and a villain. Thank you very much for the super chat. I had to look up that she's the one with the pink hair. 2Tim505 sends in 2, and then we're going to get right back to the show. He says Psycho Rangers are the best evil versions of the hero. I did not. I know who the Psycho Rangers are only because of the toys. Other than that,
they showed up in space as well, and it's another struggle that the Space Rangers have to go through. So that's why it is the best season. Like, it stays exciting all throughout, right? It doesn't have, like, there's a lot of themes that carry episode to episode rather than just Monster of the Day with space. So, right.
You're gonna get me to go watch that show, dude. Just telling you, man.
I've known you all of a couple of weeks, and here I am influencing you to uproot your schedule to watch an entire 50-episode season of Power Rangers in space.
I'm working on a comic and stuff, so there's good background. Power Rangers.
Okay. Okay.
2Tim505 says, did you know the 6th Ranger in Lightspeed is American made?
The Titanium Ranger, I think that was Ryan. This is where I start to lose a little bit, but I think that's who he's talking about.
And then our friend Adama says, yes, I did. Good memory, Jeff. Well, Adama, I remember cool things like that. Like I said, I want to meet the Power Rangers too. So, well, wait, hold on. I did meet the Black Ranger. I was working at Comic-Con years ago as an artist, and I was walking, like, the con was over, and everyone was just kind of, like, going in to get their stuff. And I was like, oh my god, it's the Black Ranger. And he goes, where? And he, like, starts to act, like, you know, cool and zany and all this shit. He was a nice guy.
Talking about Walter Jones there?
Yeah, Walter Jones. He lives in my neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
He goes to the
local
bar down the street.
I heard he shot one of his fingers off with his dad's gun when he was a kid.
He was born that way.
Oh, he's born that way? Okay. So
Yeah, that was
I
actually
never knew how.
That you just unearthed a memory from grade school that I forgot about till just now. The Black Ranger came to my elementary school.
Ooh.
Like, I have, this was a couple years after, like, most of us kids had stopped watching Power Ranger. Almost at Jurassic Park, had stopped watching Power Rangers, and he had, like, this, like, dance routine and all this kind of stuff, and he was dancing around and all that. And all the kids were like, oh, we want to get an autograph, because we didn't know how that worked. And I remember, to get us to sit down and be quiet, the school secretary came out and said, don't worry, we'll get autographs for you. They wanted us to go back to class and all that. To this day, I don't know what the point of that presentation was. I just remember him dancing a lot with, like, a troupe of dancers. And Bjorn Morgan says hip-hop keto. That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the autograph, and I think they got one and just ran off Xerox copies of it because it was really faded. Just, like, you couldn't see what was on it. So it was like the copy of a copy of a copy. It was like it was the dumb version of Michael Keaton in Multiplicity is what I ended up with. But
wow,
a bit of a stretch for that reference, but yeah, I totally forgot about that till just now.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I got honey-dicked by the Red Ranger when I was a kid. I'll never forget. It was 1994. We were going to go to a place called Johnny's Toys in Cincinnati. Now, if you're from the area, you knew Johnny's Toys. They had multiple locations. Now, Johnny's Toys was cool because it was the toy store where they would give you a key on your birthday. You could go into the castle and open the castle and take, like, basically a quarter toy out. But the Red Ranger was advertised to be there. And so I remember I had to go to a birthday party for an adult. Long story short, I had to get all dressed up and go to this birthday party, but I wanted to go meet the Power Ranger, so my mom let me take my Power Rangers clothes. I changed, and I went to go meet the Ranger, and he never showed up at the store. So the toy store gave us a free Power Ranger, like, the ones that don't move, the little, like, 2-inch figures that are just, like, static.
Yeah, they're like basically the Green Army Men of Power Rangers.
Yeah, I never liked those. I had a couple. But they gave us those for free for him not showing up. So I just remember being, like, 5 or 6 years old, disappointed that I didn't get to meet Austin St. John, but I got a free toy out of it, so I was pretty happy.
Yeah.
Now,
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, But you know what? I'll meet him one day. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But let's keep talking about the Power Ranger show, because I really want to talk about the toys. And, you know, they all go hand in hand. So we covered all the stuff. Do you have a favorite Zord, Sal?
Oh, the Red Rex, obviously. So the Red Rex is my favorite because it's a T-Rex. If it had been a green T-Rex, I'd have a tattoo of it. Because green's my favorite color. Now, the Dragon Zord I liked, except for the hands, for the weird, like, cannon thing. Weirdly, I didn't have... The only Zord I had was yeah, exactly. The only Zord toy I had was the White Ranger, the White Tiger. So that was the only one I had that, like, transformed and, like, you could play with. So I have a sweet spot for that one, but... You know, I pretty much liked the Red Ranger's iterations between the monkey and the red dragon, like the serpent dragon and all that. So
Yes.
I never understood. I mean, I know it's supposed to be an ape, but like the Ninja Zord, the actual Zords themselves have so little function individually. Like every other Megazord toy has a couple Zords that are like the Red Rangers is the standout. You know, either you buy it separately in the Thunder Zord set. Or if you get the original Megazord set, the Tyrannosaurus does the most. When we get to the Ninja Zord set, I feel like all the Zords just exist to connect, and you can't like play with them by themselves. Between the arms that don't do anything, you have to put the little slip covers over the hands. That was always such a weird... It wasn't a downgrade in the toys because it was a great toy. It was just so weird with how limited it was.
Well, the slip covers was his finishing move, right? Like both would power up, and he would kind of go like this with both hands. So that was of the appeal of it. But I was like, that did feel like a downgrade from the Shogun Megazord doing his flame sword, or the original Megazord. And I got in a baggie here doing his power sword slicer finisher, right? So yeah, you're right. It did feel like a bit of a downgrade, but it had the movie to back it, which we're going to talk about. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I'm looking at... Oh, go ahead, guys.
I was going to say, are we touching on the role-playing items by chance?
Yeah, we're going to cover any toy that you want to, Power Ranger-wise. I sent you guys the show notes, but I'm like, it's so exciting to talk about Power Rangers. We're kind of jumping around, but we're almost... We'll get to all that stuff, don't worry, man. This is one of those topics, Sal, that it's like, what do you want to talk about with Power Rangers? Well, the answer is everything. So it's like, how do I keep it short and to the point?
Right.
Clearly, I'm not doing that, but that's okay.
I have a story that I've almost told on my channel a couple of times, but I've been saving it for this panel, and it's about the Dragon Dagger. So, role-playing items were a big thing. I had that flimsy plastic mask, like the Halloween costume for the Power Rangers, and they had a little button in the hand that you would like squeeze. You can make karate chop sounds.
I had those, yep.
But I got the Dragon Dagger roleplay toy, which is a grail for my collection. I'll get it eventually. I'll get it back. I had it for exactly 24 hours.
Aww.
And I got it for my birthday. I put the batteries in it, or I should say my parents put the batteries in it. And I was running around the yard with playing the little dragon song, and like running around. And my older brother, who was 7/8 years my senior, depending on the time of year, I guess didn't like that very much. So he asked to borrow it, and being the dumb kid that I am, I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I never saw it again. I didn't find out until my late teens, early 20s, because he said that he was going to take it. We grew up next to a river. He was going to take it to the river to see if he could summon the Dragon Zord. And, when you're 4 or 5 years old, you're like, okay. And I wasn't allowed to go, obviously, and he never brought it back. And he gave me a litany of stories on why it wasn't coming back. Like, oh, it's over there. Oh, this, that, and the other. I found out in my late teens, early 20s that they had gone to the river and chucked it over the bridge because they were tired of hearing the song.
Oh, my God.
So
that's terrible.
That pisses me off. Like, legit, I'm like, dude, you're buying me a new one. Like, as an adult, I'd be like, hey, it's Christmas 2022. What are you going to give me? How about a 1994 Dragon Dagger? I haven't seen one of those in a minute. I would have been heartbroken.
Yeah. I haven't forgave him for it yet, so.
Don't. I don't have any brothers, so I don't really know what it's like to forgive a sibling, but I have a dragon dagger, and I know how important it is, so I'm going to weigh the options. But,
My brother
no,
never
dude,
touched my Power Rangers toys, so he was older, but he didn't care, so good. Anyway.
I think being an only child is why my Power Rangers toys are the way they are. Because you brought up the original ones, dude, or how they're hard to find and stuff. I was lucky. My mom held on to all that shit. And I'm gonna spare everybody every story because the Power Ranger toys are ones that I remember acquiring every single one. It's like the day I got the Dragon Zord or Dragon Dagger, we were in Kentucky at Toys R Us, and I just remember my mom buying it for me. She's like, "Hey, this thing came in," and then picked up because what she did is in the late '93, she went to Toys R Us and got put on a waiting list. And so I went to Santa Claus that year and I said I wanted all the Power Rangers, and he made a promise. And lo and behold, she pulled it off because what she did is she went to the one Toys R Us in the region and basically bought their catalog. And so we would get phone calls. It was awesome too. My mom would get a call. I didn't know what it meant. And she's like, "All right, honey, we're going to Toys R Us." And we would go to the special one, and then it would just be some Power Rangers toy. And the Dragon Dagger was one. I took it into Kroger the first day I got it, and I tried to like fight shit in Kroger. Didn't get in trouble. Did the same thing with the Saba Sword the next year. Got that, took it into Kroger, was just kind of like running around the store with it. But the role-playing stuff was great. Did you have any of the Morphers or the Blade Blaster?
I didn't.
I ended up with the Blade Blaster probably when I was 10. I got it at a yard sale, and someone's dog had gotten a hold of the blade that flipped out, so it was like a nub when it flipped out, but it was close enough for Jazz.
Tokyo Toy Bastard, that would have been the Florence one. Sorry, Ken, what were you saying?
No, nothing. I was going to say, I stuck to the Megazords. Like, this is my original Megazord from 1993, which my mom bought me, and that is my original Dragon Zord from 93. So once I got the toys, I, for some reason, didn't get the role-play stuff. Now, not to say my younger friend who was in the 3rd grade when I was in the 6th grade, he got the Dragon Dagger, and the next year he got the Saba Sword because he was all about the role-play. But for whatever reason, the role-play stuff, the Morphers, they just slipped right by me. Even when the Legacy ones came out, slipped right by me. Didn't get them for some reason.
I think the only one I had was the McDonald's movie toy tie-in. I think there was one. There was like a shooter or something.
Yeah, I had that one. I was obviously a spoiled kid, as you can hear, but when it came to Power Rangers, I just had everything. It wasn't the reason that I guess the property stands out the way it does for me is it was the first one where it's like, what are you into? And the answer was Power Rangers, and if it had Power Rangers on it, I wanted it. I would spend hours with those damn activity books. Like, I'd do the math, I would do the reading, I would do the matching, and then I would sit and color the Power Rangers for hours. It's probably why I'm an artist these days, because like I used to sit and look at the coloring books and color them and figure all this shit out. I had the role-play toys. I didn't really want to role-play as the Power Rangers. I just kind of wanted to have, like, okay, the Dragon Dagger, or the Saba Sword, or the Power Cannon, or any of the shit. I just kind of wanted to have it when they had it on TV, and I would kind of, act like a kid. But those were fun because, Sal, most of those were pretty screen accurate. A lot of them were either taken from the molds or they were the Japanese toys, which were, pretty much 1-to-1. Like, that was the first time I remember, at least in my lifetime, getting stuff that was that screen accurate. And it was cool, man, because everything else they would cut corners with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It was the perfect kind of role-play items, I think. So, because I remember... God, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly or not, because I was horrible with stickers. But I remember the toys looking like the toys where, like, a lot of the role-play items you get from Star Wars would have a big Star Wars sticker on it.
Yeah.
So
they put the logo, the Star Wars logo got put on everything, and it kind of ruined it. Because not in the movie once do you see Han Solo pull up with his gun and go, hey, look, it's a Star Wars branded blaster. Like, let me shoot a stormtrooper. It's like, oh, man, even kids pick up on that shit. Like, we want it to look 1-to-1. But it's funny, me being this guy that wants to talk about accuracy, we didn't realize in the 90s how inaccurate the stickers were on the Megazords or the Dragon Zords, They changed it all up because the Japanese releases have the accurate stickers. And it's, Daizujin, and they have all these different names, Dragon Caesar. So in America, they had to put Thunderbolts and Power Ranger logos on these things to get kids, I guess, hooked. Did you notice that as a kid, or is that something you noticed later?
I never noticed or cared as a kid. Not sure why. It was just one of those things that now you're pointing it out and kind of going, oh yeah. So I have no help on that front.
Oh man.
Sorry.
Oh dude, don't apologize. I'm just taking a trip down memory lane, and I'm like, yeah, shit, it's a lot of good memories. So let's get back on track for a second. We all like the Green Ranger. We all talked about the show. Let's just talk about the toys, the collectibles, the stuff we like. So the toys started in 1993 in America. Personally, I stopped playing with them around 95 when the movie came out. I got into that, it was cool. But they switched, and that was me. And a lot of kids stuck with it. So we're going to talk about some of the Season 1 stuff, the Season 2 stuff, the Season 3 stuff, and the movie stuff. Because the movie stuff is important. I have a copy out on my shelf right now. I have the original stuff. It was, even though I sound kind of jaded, I really do have good feelings about that movie. So that's what this stream is going to be. A lot of fun Power Rangers memories. So with Season 1, I guess we'll just call it the 93 year. Sal, you said you have some 8-inch figures. What other Power Ranger stuff do you have from the early run, toy-wise?
Oh, that's pretty much about it. I have these head flippers here that I've seen they've seen better days, but they do still work. So at least there's that, which was a feat of engineering for the time. Like that was a game changer. Unless you had the Green Ranger or the White Ranger, you had to take the armor off for them. But I played with my 8-inch. I remember getting the Red Ranger first before I got anything else, and he came in that kind of like wedge diamond shaped packaging. Yep. And the amount of articulation, especially for a 90s figure, he's got a ball joint at the neck, swivels and all that. The fingers articulate, ankle pivots and all that. He's got tons of stuff, and I love them. I was lucky enough to get them without all the gimmicks, like they weren't the talking ones or the karate chop and action ones or anything. They were just regular Power Rangers. So I was lucky enough to get those. I kind of never. How should I put this? My figures were never in scale with the villains. So I had like the Red Ranger, and I know I had the Black Ranger and the White Ranger in the 8-inch, but the only big villain I had was Bones. So it was just kind of a hit and miss. A lot of my villains were that 2-inch static figures, like Great Sphinx. They were never in the correct scale, so it was hard to play with them a little bit. I never owned putties or anything like that, so. Mm-hmm. But it was all about the role play for me at the end of the day. Just to run around and scream, I'm the Red Ranger or whatever was always great.
My mom still tells the story. I guess when I would watch the show, I would call out the Morphin shit, and she's like, you always change your voice to the Red Ranger. You do it real deep like he did. So I guess I thought the Red Ranger was fucking awesome, too. But, dude, I'm looking at these, and I'm having 1,000,001 memories. So I lost my first tooth the day before Christmas Eve 93. So when I woke up on Christmas Eve 93, my first Tooth Fairy gift was the Blue Power Ranger in that wedge-shaped box. So the Tooth Fairy was good to me back then. But it was cool because I wanted these toys so much. It was like the movie Jingle All the Way. People love to shit on it, and yeah, it has its faults. But Jingle All the Way is essentially what it was like to look for Power Rangers toys in the 90s. And that's why I've never really stopped enjoying that movie, because Turbo Man was essentially a Power Ranger, and we all wanted that shit. And for me is I never saw these toys in person. I saw the commercials. We would go to the store and look for them all the time. My aunt would even take me out, who lived on the other side of town. We'd do the other Toys R Us's in the malls and all that. Nothing. Power Rangers toys were sold out. But my tooth fell out. I got my first one. That night, Christmas Eve, the rest of the family, aka my mom, she bought him and said, "Here, give him to him from you." And that was it. I got all the Power Rangers. I took them home, and within the span of a day, I had all 6 Rangers, the Zords, and all this shit. And it was just cool. I never experienced like a toy line at once like that. And wow. I just lived in Power Rangers. It was awesome.
Blown away.
Dude, the funniest part, and I know this makes me sound whatever, but I was a kid. My mom bought me the wrong Megazord. It didn't transform. There were 2 of them. There was one that had like the fists that shot out. But she bought me the Dragon Zord and Titanis and everything else put together. And I was like, Mom, why doesn't the Megazord work? I think it's broken.
Oh, no.
And so she takes me out. I shit you not, we're like days removed from Christmas. And we're out at the toy store, and there it is. I'm like, Mom, that's the Megazord that transforms. And like my grandma gave her this look, and my mom gave my grandma this look. And I went home with the Megazord that day, and it was awesome.
You were able to find it? Because I thought that these were like unfindable. Like people had so... They made a Murphy Brown episode on it, how they just could not find the Power Ranger stuff because it was just too popular and they underproduced it because they didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
They did not anticipate the popularity.
It was that way for my mom, but like I was saying earlier, she went to the Florence, Kentucky Toys R Us. And every other store said, sorry.
Gotcha.
But she went there, and they're like, we'll put you on the list. And if you follow the channel, guys, I've been filming I filmed all the Toys R Us's as they closed, and one of the ones we went to in the video series was that Toys R Us. So if you want to see what that Toys R Us looked like, go back and watch the Star Wars toy video with the 50 Jyn Ersos and the 50 Cassian Andor figures, the ones that just sit there in stacks. That's that Toys R Us. But like, dude, you pull up the flip heads, as we called them back in the day. Like, the way it worked with Power Rangers toys, and they knew what they were doing. So I feel bad for my mom. Like, as soon as she got done buying me the 8-inch figures and the Zords and shit, midsummer or whenever, the Automorphers come out. And what a lot of people don't realize too is like they changed the scale, because everything was in the 8-inch scale, and then they went down to this scale and they started producing the play sets, and the bad guys were easily found, and all of this stuff. And so of course I had to get that too. But like the Automorphers were awesome, dude. The big ones were awesome. Like they were a step above every other toy out there because you brought up the articulation, the engineering. It was cool too, because like you would get this big fucking Megazord, and every part could transform just like on TV. It had, the little snappable chrome Triceratops horn. Every piece was included. It was neat. Like, I can understand why people don't even like Power Rangers buy these Zords because they're that cool looking. So, it's what do you think of the newer stuff that they're doing at the Lightning Collection?
It's all right. It's not bad, but I don't know. Don't love it. This is Lightning Collection here. There's Lightning Collection stuff there. It's not bad. At least we're getting it. They're doing more variants, right? Like they've got the metallic versions where you can replace the Ranger head with the unmasked head. So that's kind of cool. If I sound a little underwhelmed, it's just because I have an on and off relationship with Power Rangers right now, where if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If I see it, it's the greatest thing on earth. I don't know. Sal?
Oh, dude, I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I got in early on. I got the White Ranger when he came out, and I had the full team. I call it the original 7 because I had green, white, and then the original team. And I was getting them all, and I was only getting MMPR. And then I kind of just fell off of it because I was like, it wasn't doing anything for me anymore. And it seemed like the quality control went down as they started coming out. Like the White Ranger, he made my top 10 list that year, and I thought he was great. And then by the time I got to the Red Ranger, like I was having to like boil and pop the pegs to put them back in correctly and all that. And it just, I don't know, I kind of fell off that whole collection. So it just wasn't doing much for me anymore. And I was, they weren't hitting the nostalgia button that the vintage were. So I just kind of got rid of all those and went full vintage. So.
Fair enough.
I was trying to pull the White Ranger Lightning Collection figure out and put him on the little turntable because that's the only one I purchased. My issue was the sculpts, the suits were too baggy. I was like, I know I sound like a Power Ranger purist, but I feel like the higher end stuff looks like the Sentai footage, and the Hasbro stuff looks like the American footage. And I like the stuff that looks like the Japanese footage. The figures look cleaner. They look like the people in the suits as opposed to like people in a costume that's all baggy and out of shape. I know it's a real particular thing, but like Hasbro sculpts, dude, they use the same bodies over and over again. I don't think they look good. I think that was my whole thesis on the Lightning Collection. But I'm hoping that they continue the villains because I do purchase the villains. I didn't get King Sphinx though since they didn't paint his face.
Yeah, that's a lot of the villains are lacking a lot of paint. It looks like. So, personally,
they can't do Zords though. Their Zords look like shit though.
Yeah, I know someone, or not someone. There was a small community online that wanted a HasLab to be the Megazord, and I was like, you could just do the Megazord in 6-inch, 7-inch, and it would scale with the villains that they put out in the scale. So. But I don't know, because if they do a Megazord like huge for like a HasLab, then they're going to have to do the villains. So
I would be on board for a Lightning Collection Megazord of the figure scale because I full in bought the what is it, the Super 7 Megazord, because it looks just like the guy in a suit. And we've never really had a figure that looks like that, because they're always trying to make it look like a Zord, like a robot that can do all these things. And I kind of like the ones that look like people, or that the guy in the suit for that one. Hopefully Hasbro does something like that too, because $70 for these Lightning, or the Super 7 figures is just getting out of hand. Like, are you still buying a lot of collectibles, Sal, or has this crazy economy stopped you?
It's hit and miss. I'm a lot more selective than I used to be. I just kind of pick and choose for my favorite characters, and then there are certain lines I'll buy everything, but that's few and far between. So now it's kind of based on like price, like the price, the time, and if I really care or not. So it is what it is, I guess. It's kind of sucks to be priced out of a market, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I'm getting pickier and pickier. Plus, a lot of stuff just isn't really interesting me as much, because you're seeing a lot of companies put, like, for example, when Hasbro will put out Power Rangers with new heads, you feel like you gotta either buy these figures and then put the new heads on the old figures, or wait another cycle to where they'll re-release that figure with the new head, and it all just kind of it all falls apart with the Hasbro collecting. We've had a ton of those talks. When I was over with Laser Pants on 3POA, I felt like I was just going to rip on Hasbro the whole time, but it was a fun time. They're, I don't know. Do you think they have done a good job with the Power Rangers license to the point where it's going to be able to continue, or once they milk MMPR, it's kind of dead?
Mm-hmm. Want me to take this one first?
So,
yeah.
I pretty much jumped off after the movie, so I think you'd be in a much better position to answer that.
I like that they're doing things like putting out the Rangers from the other series. But the thing is, most of us, when we're into Power Rangers, like, I'd like to believe that I was in it for a long time. But even I have a definitive span of about 10 to 12 years where I mostly know the franchise. And then it gets past that, and I'm like, what are these Rangers? So, like, you have this wave, and it's too much of a mishmash. Like, you have characters from 94, and then you got characters from, like, 2011. It's just too far and too disparate. So if you're trying to collect the waves, like, you might think the next wave's coming. There's only one figure that you want, but you're not keeping up with it because your era of interest, was out of sight, out of mind for the last few months, and you weren't thinking to pre-order that. Then you go look, and all of a sudden it's sold out, right? And like you guys said, we're not seeing a lot in the way of Zords. I don't know. I like the way Bandai handled it better, because when I got the MMPR guys, I got a bunch of them in one shot, right? When I looked at the Zeo guys, I got a lot of them in one shot. I'm not sure if that was just the way Toys R Us distributed them up here, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I don't think they're handling it that well, but at the same time, I'm grateful that we have the option that they're out there. So that's kind of how I feel about Hasbro, pretty much for any toy line that they have.
Sal?
Yeah, that's for me, is you said out of sight, out of mind. That's kind of how I felt about the Power Rangers. I'm like, if it's not MMPR, it's kind of off my radar. And even then, I've got the vintage available, so I'll just keep buying those. So, like, even though, because we we'll branch into the movie real quick, because even though they're doing like the Ninja movie figures, it's just not something I'm interested in. Like, I love the movie, I love the memories I have of it, but MMPR was my Power Rangers. Like, I don't know when I stopped. Like, I don't know when I stopped watching, because it's like, I remember Lord Zed. Like, I remember Zed, and I'm guessing he wasn't MMPR. He was Zeo or something.
Lord Zed?
Yeah.
Lord Zed was 94, right?
I have no idea.
You might be thinking King Mondo was
Maybe.
Zed. Yeah.
So, or it's like I had I still have it, the Lightning Collection, Zordon and Alpha 5. And it's like, okay, yeah, I remember that from Mighty Morphin, but the packaging says Zeo on it. So I'm like, did I really watch Zeo? Because I don't remember, like, I don't have any, like, direct memories of watching Zeo, but it doesn't mean that I didn't.
Zeo has some good moments too, like some really, really good moments too. But we're not here to talk that much about Zeo. But there are things that happen that will surprise you about that season. I'll say that much. Right.
I'm not going to spoil the opening, but doesn't something big happen in the opening? Like, the first episode, something happens, and then they have to, like, change the whole way they fight evil, right? Doesn't somewhere get destroyed?
the Zeo crystal is basically the big jarring thing, because they throw the Zeo crystal out into space to keep it out of the hands of evil. Then when their ranger powers dissipate, spoiler alert, they have to track down the Zeo crystal, now the thing that they tossed out, to try to one by one get their powers, right? And that's kind of what starts it. But Zeo has a really rocky start, if you ask me, and then in the last half of the season just gets really good.
Is that
Right.
the one where the command center explodes, though, right?
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes, and it becomes the power chamber. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all. I was just like,
That's what you were talking about. Sorry, because
like,
Zordon and Alpha 5 are still there. That's why I think of it. It's in the same location, so it explodes, but it's like exploding a house and building a new house on top of it. So yes.
You know what always bothered me as a kid about Power Rangers Zeo is I would watch it every once in a while, and Billy would be there in the command center, or the new power chamber, and then all the old original suits would be on in the background, like in those tubes. And I'm like, man, can they all just put on the old suits and fight? I think that's what it was as a kid. I was just like, why did they change costumes? Blah blah blah. Because not many things had changed like that. Like when Batman got a new movie, his suit still stayed black. He looked the same. It was. I don't know, I guess that's what was jarring for me as a kid, the constant change. I couldn't imagine being a kid in Japan. Every year, the new Sentai comes out, and you got your new team, your new Zords, your new this. Like, I stayed connected to
The
this team
Zeo
for a
crystal.
while.
The Zeo crystal was supposedly more powerful than their original powers, but that's just, I think, what they use as a cop out, because you go 10 years later in the 10th year anniversary in Forever Red, Jason comes and morphs with the original suit, and it doesn't seem like he's any less powerful. So, but that's how I always took it in '96. Was the Zeo crystal was more powerful, so that's
okay.
why they couldn't use the old suits, because it was underpowered, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should have watched more.
I'm
think I was
here.
focused on shit like, dude, I was focused on Goosebumps back then. That was the Fox Kids show. I couldn't get enough of that. And Spider-Man. I was hooked.
Okay, fair enough.
This is the best part, though. Like, that era had so many good kids shows that would just be on back to back to back. I would argue that the 90s was better than any other era, and we should have a debate about that here on the channel soon. So, folks, if you want to be a part of that debate, join us. Now, with the Power Rangers, the Season 1 stuff, like I talked about a lot, but there was Season 2. That's when the White Ranger showed up. That's when we had the Thunder Zords. So how do we feel about the Thunder Megazord? Sal, we'll start with you.
No, see, that's kind of where I'm in a little gray area, because it's like I do distinctly remember the White Ranger, but I don't remember the Thunder Zords, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, I have no recollection of those Zords. It's really, really weird. So, I remember Saba, like, I remember Saba talking and kind of flying around on his own. It reminded me of the boss of the second world of Donkey Kong Country 2. I know it's a weird connection, but that's what it reminds me of. So it's like I have memories of watching that, but I don't remember the Zords at all.
Fair enough.
So I don't know if I just like data dumped them because they weren't the dinosaurs anymore or something. I have no idea.
So this was the Thunder Megazord right here.
There we go.
This was the second Power Ranger Megazord. So I remember being out at the store, and randomly I was at a KB Toys, and I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's a Power Ranger toy. I'm like, this isn't from Power Rangers. It was the Thunder Dragon Zord. It was just kind of sitting there by itself. And the show hadn't happened yet. They were still using the regular Dragon Zords, or Dino Zords. And so my mom and I went to Toys R Us and picked this thing up, and I played with it for a couple days, and then all of a sudden, Season 2 happens. It debuts at night. They had a big prime time debut. The Power Rangers Zords were frozen. It was pretty epic, for a kid's show. And this is their new form of the Megazord. I like it a lot.
Pterodactyls knocking over all those trees.
Every time it crashes, it's like, who keeps putting the tree up? I love the stock footage though, man. I found the footage, the behind the scenes making of the original Zords, and it's awesome. It's just these big ass models that they have. I love it. But no, this one is another great design, another great Zord. I thought this was cool because you get a lot of American footage of them in the little orb in the chest. And then it becomes one with the White Tiger Zord.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the other... Do you remember the form of the White Tiger Megazord?
The what?
The White Tiger Thunder Megazord, when the
Yeah.
White Ranger combined with that. I was just because that was a good design.
the Mega Tiger Zord, yes.
Yeah. I couldn't remember the name of it. But yeah, Sal, I'm sad you don't remember these because some of these were pretty cool.
They were. The Red Dragon Thunder Zord was my 1994 Christmas gift. I think I might have said that on our collaboration there that aired today. And yeah, the Red Dragon Thunder Zord was just so cool. I liked it more than the Tyrannosaurus Rex, actually. Anyway, yes, here we go. Yes.
As a kid, every new Zord became my favorite. So I put the Dino Zord, Megazord kind of away for a little bit afterwards. And this was, the main Thunder Zord was my favorite. This was cool stuff.
Yes.
Like all the pieces went together. This one made lights and sounds as opposed to the original Megazord. And then I would play with this and then have the command center. And it was the best way to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, I remember the, what was that, like, kind of the Chinese dragon version for, like, the red Zord. But it's like, I don't remember it in connection to the show. I remember the toy.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. So it's like, I remember kind of seeing this, maybe. But, like, I pretty much, I guess I must have fallen off by the time this rolled around and then picked back up with the movie. So...
Because the way this would work is you get the first season with the original Zords, then you have these ones, and then the movie comes out while they're still rocking these Zords on TV, and then the movie comes out, and then that season they go to the Ninja Zord and the Shogun Megazord, which is the only Power Rangers toy I skipped. I did not like the Shogun Megazord. I didn't get what I was looking at, so I kind of was just like, I'll stick with the Ninja one. But it's cool in hindsight. Like, it's one of those things I kind of regret not getting.
That season to me was all about the Falcon Zord because it was different. It was so different from anything Tommy had ever piloted. So, like, while we found the Ninja Megazord a little underwhelming, and like Jeff, you didn't like the Shogun Zord, the Falcon Zord just being in the air and having it come down with the setting sun behind it, and like
that was beautiful
sound, like the bird sound, and Tommy gesturing while we know he's in the sky. That was just gorgeous, right? And he still had Saba, but Saba stopped talking that season. But he was still using in battle.
Yeah, and that's like when it comes to those, what I have the closest memory to, or the biggest memory, is the McDonald's toy tie-in for those. And I only really remember the red gorilla for Jason, the black frog for Adam, I think it was at that point, and then the white hawk eagle thing for Tommy.
Yep. The Falcon Zord,
Which we mentioned it earlier, the skydiving scene. It's really cool, like, they have all their little lines and all that, and Higher Ground's playing, and then out steps Tommy on a freaking, like, snowboard, like a boss. Just flipping, twirling, all that kind of stuff, and as a kid, you're like, yeah, this is so cool, I want to try that. So, there they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bear and the wolf, that's what I couldn't remember. And then whatever the pink ranger is.
The crane.
Crane, that's right. I like that their morphers, or their chest icons, are still Mighty Morphin.
I never thought about that until right now, and I have all of these sitting at home.
Like that, those could not be beat in the 90s. Like, Happy Meal toys have fallen from God's grace so far. Like, you got a POA figure and a Zord. Like,
these weren't Happy Meal toys.
They weren't.
You had to buy them separate. They were like $2 each.
I don't remember
because, the only toys that you got in the Happy Meal were the Megazord, or the Morpher, and a couple other things. But these were all separate. That's why they were so good.
Yeah, that might explain why I remember the Morpher in the Happy Meal then. So
the weird part is, this is the most accurate movie figure we ever got back in the day. Because all of the Power Rangers movie toys were just repurposed Mighty Morphin, where they would take the exact same figure, they would put a new sticker on the chest, and then they would have them in vac metallicized colors instead of original paint. And that was it. That was the Power Ranger movie toy. They cut every corner. But these ones had the plating armor and all the other shit on there and looked, sadly, just like the movie. So this was as close as you could get back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a picture of them in the package. Yo, sorry, man, keep going.
I was saying, that movie, like, And I'm sure hearing everyone in the chat, oh, there they are.
Yep.
I remember, and I'm sure everyone in the chat can remember too. Like you get a certain age with things, and you're like, I don't want to play with it. That's for babies and stuff
Yep.
like that. Like, and that's kind of how Power Rangers was for me, because it was like I was really into it. Then I saw kids younger than me, like at recess and all that, were really into it. I'm like, oh, that's for babies. I don't like Power Rangers. And the movie came out, and I was like, I'm just kidding. I really like Power Rangers. It was, to this day, I can't hear Higher Ground or Edgar Winter's band, Free Ride, without thinking of this movie.
Yeah. Or Van Halen's. What was the song at the end? Dreams? What was the song at the very end of the movie? It was a Van Halen song.
I know what you're wondering. I can hear it in my head. I just don't know the lyrics well enough. Is it saying higher or something in it?
Well, yeah. I think it's called Dreams? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, same. I can hear it in my head, but
yeah, someone in the chat will probably spit it out for us.
Hopefully,
this discussion has me on eBay looking to get another set of these Power Rangers McDonald's toys.
Yeah, I'd get them now. Every time we talk about toys like this on a stream, like these could be like $2 a piece, and tomorrow they'll be 15 because we talked about it. It's like clockwork every time.
They're currently $20,
Oof.
brand new in the package.
Mm.
If I could what I really just want are the figures, not the Zord. So if I could find those loose, I think I might just get those. Cause
yeah,
you could probably get cool. They look nice on the shelf.
Yeah, if you find yourself a flea market, dig through like the bucket of Lucy figures, you'd probably find them. So, but yeah, we talked about which I think is interesting. Lightning Collection did the birds and all that from the movie, but they haven't done Ivan Ooze yet. But we talked about it, and I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. The Dulcia.
Oh, Dulcia or Dulcia. Yeah.
Yeah. My Atlanta, you are my woman. That was because we talked about how the CGI hasn't aged well and all that, and it's just I remember seeing her and being like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
I had a Ralphie Wiggum moment. She makes my pants tingle.
So for those in the chat, I made a comment in our chat group before this that the CGI didn't age well, and then right then Sal throws in a picture of Dulcia, and it's just like, oh, you remember the Zord, I remember the girl. I was like, okay, fair enough. Had a bit of a moment there.
There she is.
There she is. I remember the thing I remember the most about her is Adam being like, I'm a frog. And she's like, yeah, but you have to kiss them to turn into a prince or something. I was like, I want to be a frog.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I read online that she was originally going to be, was it Mariska Hargitay from Law and Order? And I think they even shot footage of her. So there's footage of another actress playing the role out there.
Yes.
We'll keep her on screen because everybody likes to look at her.
Yeah. I think she got sick, and then she got back in time to film some more scenes, and they done some scenes with the other actress, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember, what was it? She had her, I guess, staff, her shillelagh. I'm not sure what that is, but it would whistle when she spun it around. That's how she scared away the bird. Yeah.
So
cool.
I'm going to pull up some Power Rangers movie stats in just a second, but let's check in with the audience because we have some people who have sent in some messages for us.
Yes.
So, Manga Knight 2, thank you very much. He says, in Lost Galaxy, the Magna Defender went full Death Wish because of the death of his son.
Yep. And then he gave up the Magna Defender identity to Mike during that period.
So the Magna Defender is really cool looking. And what is this from? Which season is this?
Lost Galaxy. Lost Galaxy.
Because they are making a toy of this now, or it's currently out, and every time I see it, I go, maybe I should get this one because this one looks really cool. Yep. There's something I've always dug about that design. That character's really cool.
Yep. Well, he was the 6th Ranger that year, right? So, yeah.
He's better than Ninjor. Remember Ninjor?
Yeah. I do, yeah. Ninjor was more of a helper, like a Ranger helper, though. Although I guess Magna Defender was kind of in between. He was that Ranger helper, but he was also a 6th Ranger, I guess. I don't know. I'm splitting hairs now.
Dude, an original Japanese Magna Defender goes for $134 loose.
Oh wow! Is that with the Toro Zord?
No, it's just a little figure. It comes with a cloth cape.
My goodness!
It's a really nice looking figure. But,
yes.
Not at this price. No, thank you. Man, that Defender's fucking cool.
He is.
I play that Power Ranger Battle for the Grid on Xbox, and I'll use him as my third guy sometimes. But now I've kind of evolved into using Goldar. So, thank you, Magnanite2, or Manganite2. Magnanite, excuse me. Dr. Coffinail says, when I was teaching in the 90s, I was wearing a gray sweatshirt once, and I told the kids I was the Gray Ranger. I was met with much skepticism. I know you, Dr. Coffinails. I can just imagine you saying that. Kevin Castillo, thank you very much. He says, favorite carrier Zord? Me, Lightspeed Train Zord. Mm-hmm. Kevin, thank you for asking this question, because I wanted to just briefly say how much I hated Tor the Shuttle Zord. I had the toy. It was such a waste. It was a hollow shell. Like, you couldn't really do much with it. So what I would do is I would sit my Power Rangers in there, and they would drive it like a tank. And that was like the one time I would play with the toys non-accurate to the show. But my favorite carrier Zord's got to be Titanis. It's Titanis.
Everyone loves Titanis.
She's the Leah Dunham of the combiners, right?
Yeah, and her name is combined. It's Titanis. So how can you not love Titanis?
Right.
Pyramidus from Zeo, because it was an actual pyramid, and then it could stand up into a robot, and you could throw Zords into the back of it and throw cannons on its shoulders. So that thing was huge. Yeah, underrated. People don't talk about it, but it was cool. It was a flying pyramid that came out around the same time as Stargate. So
that would explain it.
Yeah.
That would explain it.
I think my friend had this toy, and I never knew what it was. Our next message comes from our friend Tim505, who says, my favorite episode when I was a kid would be Forever Red. My mind was blown. 10 Red Rangers.
Yep.
When did Forever Red come out? Because I was a lot older.
Wild Force, 2002. Wild Force would be the era that it came out. Yeah.
Oh man. So.
And they did not have Rocky. They elected to go with Jason in the Mighty Morphin, and Rocky was not one of the 10. So yeah, he said he was contacted, but he was moving or something like that. So I'm not sure how that would have worked out. But
I'm glad it was Jason. But you know, Steve Cardenas seems like a cool dude. So.
Yeah.
So I wasn't watching Power Rangers in 2002. I was into wrestling and comic books and stuff. I didn't realize that was a thing. Guys, favorite episodes?
The Mutiny. The beginning, the first couple episodes of season 2, because that was when you kind of saw them on the ropes. They just introduced Lord Zed, and then they got rid of the Dinozords. Like they'd possessed them, so they went evil, and then Lord Zed destroyed them, and then Alpha programs the new Zords just in time and uses like the shell of the old Dinozords. That allowed the Morphin sequence of, and I know right now the Tyrannosaurus, Red Dragon, Thunderzord power thing, and then you'd see the Tyrannosaurus running and it would turn into the Red Dragon, and did that for all 5 of the Zords. So for me, that opening couple episodes or 3 episodes of season 2 of Mighty Morphin, introduction to the Thunderzords.
Dude, those were those nighttime episodes. At least the first one was the nighttime episode.
Prime time Power Rangers. That's why I liked it so much. I'm like, oh my god, they're airing it in the evening. That's so cool.
Wait, I remember. I still have this, but I have the whatchamacallit, the TV guide that talked about that season. So I was all about Power Rangers on prime time.
Yes.
So let's read a couple more of these, and then we'll get to our closing Power Ranger statements. My favorite episode would have to be, I don't know. I know this is a dumb one, but I probably like the gnome. I wouldn't call it my favorite though. It's not any of the Green Ranger or White Ranger episodes. My favorites are the earlier episodes where it's just the 5 of them learning their powers. Like, what's a good one? Eye Guy's one of my favorites. That was always one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Eye Guy. I'm very partial to Bones. Just
yes.
And I picked up the vintage one. I should have brought him over here. The Invincible Flytrap.
Mm.
So
He was always
I
a cool one.
continued getting the villains and the toys long after I stopped. Like, I shouldn't say long. It was like probably a couple years after I stopped watching, so I have no idea where they fall. But it was like, oh, I have, like I mentioned earlier, I'm like, my villains never matched scale with my figures. So I'd go to a yard sale and I'd be like, oh, sweet, like they have a very distinct look. Power Ranger villains do. So something to fight my Power Rangers. But for favorite, like I don't know the name of it. I couldn't tell you. It with a gun to my head. But we had it on VHS, and it was where Goldar is fighting, I think, Jason, and Jason doesn't have his morpher, and so he's like rolling around on the ground, and Goldar's like stabbing
the Green Candle episode. Yeah. He has to go rescue the Green Candle, and he doesn't go in morphed. I think he doesn't want to alert Rita with the powers, and I think and Goldar's guarding the Green Candle, so they got to go one-on-one. Yeah, that's a great episode.
Yeah, that's when shit got real. Yeah, the 90s, it was intense. Like, we were completely safe, but we were on the edge of our seats the entire time. World Made of Cardboard, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the Megazords. I found many of the combined forms to be very creative and with neat engineering. I agree with that statement. 100%.
Agreed.
Kevin Castillo says, damn! Well, Kevin, Dulcia deserves that damn. And then our friend Silent Bob 78 says, if you want to see something interesting, look at the Megazords for the current Sentai season. Search DX Don Ontologine. I'll Google this real quick. I don't know
this one I don't know. Right. I drop out around 06. So.
This looks... Wait. Jeez, it's like a... It looks awesome on the picture. I'll show you this picture real quick as we get ready to close out our show. But I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's like a Zord on a throne. It's neat looking, though. It would be neat to,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. It's like Thanos in Megazord form.
It is. And so, I believe we have reached the end of our stream time, folks. So, folks, if you want more, and we know you do, join us tonight on World Class Bullshitters, episode 313. We're going to be talking about, what did we put in the description? Probably Miss Marvel, because it shows a big old flop. R. Kelly going to jail for 30 years, and a whole lot more. So join us tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific when I record it, live here on World Class Bullshitters. But all day, you guys should be watching Iconicon. Not just all day, but all week. We're going to be having many other streams across many channels. Sal, what would you like to say before we go?
I would like to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been waiting to put this on. I would like to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the collection behind me now that it's displayed. And be sure to watch everything else for Iconicon. When you get a chance, go watch the Toys R Us video I just put out. Jeff's in it. It's a wonderful video. I enjoyed making that a lot. And thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Sal from 2 Cents Toys.
Amazing.
Ken, anything you'd like to say?
Every single thing that Sal and Jeff just said. There's a lot of content coming out across the 70s, 80s, 90s through Iconicon. I just put out a video yesterday, and Jeff and I will be on a wrestling stream tomorrow for Sergeant Slaughterhouse. And thank you, Michael French. Appreciate that message. And thanks to everyone who helped put this together. Sal, I know you were on the planning committee with Iconicon a little bit here and there. Melinda was just wonderful. Tony, everyone else. I think Laser Pants may have been involved. Missing a few names, but yeah, everyone who helped put Iconicon together and all the presenters. Just a wonderful 5-day get together for everybody. Just loving it. Time of my life.
I would just like to say thanks for having me, Michael, Melinda. It's been a blast to host the stream, and a shout out to Laser Pants. He set this up here on the channel, so thank you. And yeah, folks, make sure you're subscribed to 2 Cent Toys. Make sure you're subscribed to everybody who's a part of Iconicon, and hit that thumbs up button on the way out. So thank you for watching, folks. We're not going to keep you any longer. We'll be back tonight with more. But in the meantime, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
My name is Jeff.